Good morning, starshine.
Welcome to the real world. Whoa! Mortgage your house and buy Bitcoin with breathe air. There's no second best, okay?
GM. GM. Trade of the day. So, Bitcoin or alts? The answer is both. But first, got a message here from Sleepwalking GM talking about the borrow rates. So, I mentioned this when you look at borrow rates on the exchanges. Typically, when you see sharp rises in USDT margin borrow or persistent rises, it's an indication that the market is getting leveraged. So you can see this throughout August and September of last year when we were out near the bottom. Borrow rates were very low. Then, as we went into kind of that full bull mode, borrow rates were rising and rising and rising and rising all the way to the top. They peaked at the absolute top for BTC. What does this mean? Well, on exchanges, if you are getting long with leverage, you are borrowing on margin, you will borrow stablecoins from the exchange. You have to pay to borrow. You actually borrow it from other traders on the exchange who are providing it. If you're borrowing, it's a sign that you want to borrow dollars. Why would you want to borrow dollars? You're borrowing dollars so you can buy more coins. That's the general, reason for it. If you see borrowing picking up and persistently getting higher and higher and higher, it means people are taking on more and more leverage. And if that persists for too long, that's a sign that the market's getting over leveraged. So where are we at now? Still totally, neutral. Absolutely no over leverage signs here yet. Now, if you zoom way in, it is ticking up over the past couple of days, but very, very, very little, right? Compared to what it has been before. Now, it doesn't need to go to these extremes again, but certainly borrow rates on Binance are not crazy. OKX, same thing. Still around, still back at kind of September, October 2023 levels. Bybit, the suspense is killing me. Same thing. All right, so keep an eye on that. Bybit borrow rates are actually lower than they were back in October of last year. So we're still, in terms of one of the proxies, one of the views you would have for how much leverage is in the system, very low relative leverage. So that's good. To be at 60k with borrow rates lower than they were when we were at 25k, that's healthy. ETFs. I saw a couple of things saying. So ETFs are not really smart money. We saw outflows yesterday while Bitcoin had a positive day. That's generally good. When the ETFs had their biggest downwards spikes for several days, that correlated near the bottom. 3rd of September till the 6th. That was around here. All right, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, right into that lower, higher low. And whenever we've seen big spikes of big spikes of ETF buying, again, that often correlates to local highs. If you look back at like our most recent, we had this little push in the mid to late August, 20th of August till the 26th. If you're looking back over here, again, where's that? Over here. 20th into the 26th was our local top. And that was when we had persistent ETF flows coming in again. So for now, it seems pretty clear that ETFs are buying on the way up and selling on the way down. So we've started to see the market go up, but they're selling. So it's a good sign. It's a good sign for now. Then the main focus of this trade of the day, Bitcoin or alts. I want to look at a couple of things here. We'll look at a 4-hour trend comparison for BTC against some altcoins. So Bitcoin is trying to reclaim its 4-hour trend. We'll look first at ETH and Solana, obviously the two biggest altcoins to be compared with BTC. If you look over here, take that off, 50, 100, 200. So that's ETH's 4-hour trend. Significantly weaker. It's actually still in full bearish formation, 150 below 100 below 200, whereas Bitcoin is reclaiming it's much better. This is all good stuff. Solana, same thing. They haven't even crossed the first time yet. Why is that a good thing? Because you generally want to see Bitcoin leading. That's what we're seeing. If you go to some alts, I'll pick out some popular ones like meme coins, like Pepe, same thing, just trying to reclaim. Whiff, again, bearish, hasn't reclaimed yet, trying to reclaim. And what else? What's another one? A lot of people are talking about stuff like Phantom. I've seen that shilled a lot on Twitter, so it's probably in a more bullish trend. Yeah, Phantom has flipped its own back to bullish, and we're now in a bullish 4-hour uptrend. So on the next pullback consolidation, you might want to look at Phantom. Does it come back to these bands and consolidate and hold? What else? People shilling Sui. A lot of these are like VC bags. Again, there's a few altcoins that are in bullish trends here. That's not anything to be worried about. There's always going to be altcoins that lead. What you don't want to see is altcoins as a whole leading. So if you look at like Total 3, which is total market cap excluding BTC and ETH, Total 3 is not leading Bitcoin. Here's Total 3 versus BTC. So Total 3 is still down from its August highs. Total 3 is still down, 6 or 7%, whereas BTC from its August highs is only down like 4%, right? So altcoins are further off their highs. Altcoins are not in as strong of an uptrend here either, where Bitcoin cleared out well above the Saturday, the weekend highs. So Bitcoin's a decent bit above, having had a false breakout and reclaimed. Altcoins are just trying to climb back up into that. The 4-hour trends are roughly similar, but if you zoom out to a daily, the daily trend for altcoins is bearish still, right? So you've got the bands, we're below all the bands, whereas Bitcoin is above all of its bands. They're not fully back in bullish yet. I mentioned that in daily levels, but you're seeing Bitcoin leading, you're seeing Bitcoin dominance rising, you're seeing some altcoins outperform, that's fine. What you want to keep watching now is, does altcoins more broadly play a bigger role as we go higher? Let's say Bitcoin goes towards like 66, but altcoins have a bigger move towards, their July highs. That is when you're looking at more, okay, this could be potentially a sign of overheating on alts in the near term, but as for now, looks good. So what do you want to be focusing on? Well, if you want to see like how much room does Bitcoin have to run, you want to look at some of the coins against BTC. So ETH BTC is still super negative in a downtrend, no signs of real life here yet. Sol BTC is potentially losing its daily trend for the first time properly. You did have a slight crossover of the 50 and the 100 over here. This seems to be more pronounced. Again, not impossible for it to reclaim, but certainly looks like it's continuing to show weakness against BTC, which again is a good thing. You want to see Bitcoin continue to rise. If you start to see these things like really negative, like say it was down here and it's starting to rise, at that point you're saying, okay, well, Bitcoin maybe has had a decent dominant run against Sol, and Sol might be set to outperform. I don't see that here. I don't see Sol set to outperform Bitcoin until it gets maybe back above that 0.24 level. And then you can also compare Pepe. Right, so Pepe is still down and bearish against BTC. It could rally from here, but it doesn't look like it's in a period of outperformance yet. So Bitcoin can still continue to strengthen against Pepe. Whiff, same kind of thing. Just picking out some of the popular meme coins, Whiff continues to just consolidate after a bearish trend against BTC. So again, Bitcoin strengthening against that is not a major surprise. And some of those others that we mentioned, like Phantom. If you're looking at these coins that are now outperforming and have been, you'll notice that they've been trending up against Bitcoin for a while. These are the ones you want to watch out for, because when the market starts to rally, people will look at these things and like, oh, I should be long Phantom because Phantom's outperforming. Well, Phantom has been outperforming, right? Has been outperforming Bitcoin. Doesn't mean it's going to continue to, especially if Bitcoin builds up ahead of steam. But obviously it's in a better position than some of the others. But I would say Phantom is probably set for maybe a little bit higher, but then some kind of consolidation or even a pullback against BTC soon, as it's had nice rally off the lows. So overall, Bitcoin's in a better position in general. If you're looking at Bitcoin, you can also look at this by Total 3 versus Bitcoin. So if we look at Total 3 against BTC, here you can see Bitcoin against all of these alts, this kind of index of alts. And it's still trending down bearishly. It's still this path I drew out a few weeks ago. It still seems to be following that. Not saying it's going to like go down there for sure. That doesn't really matter. What you're seeing is Bitcoin outperforming altcoins as a whole. until you start to see some clear signs of altcoins building up against BTC into more of a positive trend, this to me seems completely fine. This would tell me that Bitcoin's still in the lead, which is good. Altcoins going lower on average against BTC here, kind of sideways / lower. So that's all good. Right, that's short answer is that's all good. When you see altcoins having more sustained outperformance against BTC, that's more of a warning sign. I don't think we're near there yet. I think Bitcoin will go higher. I don't think it's time to just fucking close your eyes, go max long, and forget about the market. You know, there's still plenty that needs to happen. First thing would be a Bitcoin weekly close above 65. That would be a clear sign that you probably should be allocated for several weeks, as it would be the first major reclaim. If we go back to that weekly chart, we put it on a line chart. The reason why that level matters so much is Bitcoin went to low, high, lower high, a lower low that came from this high here. So reclaiming that, as I said here, weekly close above equals move towards all-time high. A weekly close above here would invalidate this last leg, and from a trend perspective would give Bitcoin a much better shot at moving towards the all-time high. Do we need to break out and go massively? You know, look, my expectation would be that we should move towards 70 in the coming weeks. I also don't think it needs to break out above 70 before the election. But obviously anything can happen. You could also see how Bitcoin could have a faster, bigger rally to 75 or 80 because if people are underexposed or they're sitting in alts or they're not long Bitcoin, we could see it push significantly beyond where people expect because it essentially doesn't give them a chance to get on. And then you're left with that kind of, you know, oh shit, have I missed the boat kind of thing if it's at 80. I don't know. We'll just trade it through the levels for now. My expectation would be get through 65, we can go to 70. Get through 70, I mean, that's when the breakout is really on the table. And so let's just let it get there first. Yeah. Downside's very clear for me. 58k is absolutely where Bitcoin should not lose. Right? Should not lose all these bands. Should not lose these daily lows at 58.1. If it does that, you see something like this. That's a sign of weakness, and that could lead us lower. Anything above that is fine for consolidation. If we get above here, we're looking at 70. And then once Bitcoin gets above 70 and really clearly breaks, that's when you should probably see most of the altcoin movement as we see the wealth effect coming back in and capital rotating back into chase some of these alts. Still plenty of work to do for that. Keep an eye on the borrow rate, like I mentioned. Keep an eye on open interest. Keep an eye on general sentiment. But for now, higher is more likely than lower. GM.